3 times in the space of about 5 years, the biggest names in music came within one word of becoming a single band. Not a rumor, not a fan's daydream. Each of these was put on the table by the people themselves. Once David Bowie was asked to form a trio with 2 of the Beatles. Once Bob Dylan tried to get the Beatles and the Rolling Stones to make an album together. And once Jimi Hendrix and Miles Davis sent Paul McCartney a telegram asking him to join them. Every one of those really happened, and every one of them fell apart for the same reason. It wasn't money, and it wasn't lawyers. It was something a lot smaller than that. It was the morning after. This is the story of 3 supergroups that never survived the night, and the 2 men who kept saying no. Start in New York in 1974. Bowie had taken over a suite at the Pierre Hotel and more or less moved in for months, staying up until dawn filming himself on a little Sony video camera. The way he told it later, one night around 3 in the morning, somebody knocked on his door. He opened it, and there was John Lennon standing in the hall. Next to him was Paul McCartney. The 2 of them had been out drinking together all evening. And you have to understand what that meant in 1974. The Beatles had broken up in the ugliest way possible, and Lennon and McCartney had barely been in the same room since. Bowie said he blurted out something like, "Wait, I thought you 2 had fallen out," and Lennon just brushed it aside. "Oh no," he said, "all that's going to change." So the 3 of them stayed up talking, and at some point in the small hours, one of them said something out loud that only made sense at 3 in the morning. What they asked him, according to Bowie, was to join them, to make it a 3-piece, and they'd already half worked out the name. They wanted to call it David Bowie and the Beatles, because they liked that it came out as D.B.B. That's the picture. One hotel room, the middle of the night, and the 3 of them just sitting there seriously kicking around a band. It's the kind of thing you'd assume was just drunk talk, except a lot of it wasn't empty. The very next year, Lennon actually went into the studio with Bowie, and the 2 of them wrote Fame together, and it became Bowie's first #1 in America. So they did really click. That part is on record. The trio, though, went the way these things usually go. In Bowie's own words, the next morning, it just never came to anything. And that wasn't even the biggest one. Go back a few years to 1969 in a New York airport. The engineer Glyn Johns, who had worked with the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, happened to run into Bob Dylan. This is John's story from his memoir, which is called Sound Man. He says Dylan was full of an idea he couldn't let go of. He wanted to make a record with the Beatles and the Stones, all of them, on one album. And he asked Johns to go quietly and find out whether the others would be up for it. Think about who that is. The 3 biggest names in music of that whole decade in one studio. Johns even had a plan for how it would work. They'd take the best songs Jagger and Richards had, and Lennon and McCartney, and Dylan and Harrison, and then pick whichever rhythm section from the 2 bands suited each track. The greatest album nobody ever heard. And here's the thing, some of them actually said yes. John said the answers came back one at a time. George Harrison loved it. Keith Richards loved it. Ringo was happy to do it. And so were the quieter 2 Stones, Charlie Watts and Bill Wyman. As long as everyone else was in, John Lennon didn't turn it down flat. He just wasn't that fussed either way. So really, it came down to 2 people. And the 2 who killed it stone dead, who said absolutely not, were Paul McCartney and Mick Jagger, the 2 front men, the 2 men most protective of their own bands. Keep that pairing in your head, because it's about to come up again. Only a few months after this, there'd be a 3rd supergroup on the table, and it would land right back on Paul McCartney's desk, and once again, it would slip through his fingers. October 1969. A cablegram turned up at Apple offices in London, addressed to Paul McCartney. It still exists, so we know it word for word. "We are recording an LP together this weekend in New York," it said. "How about coming in to play bass?" And it was signed, Peace, Jimi Hendrix, Miles Davis, Tony Williams. Read that lineup again. Hendrix on guitar, Miles Davis, who just about reinvented jazz, Tony Williams, one of the great drummers of the century, and the one thing they wanted to complete it was Paul McCartney on bass. But the telegram landed on an empty desk because Paul had gone off to his farm in Scotland for a holiday. Of all the ordinary things to be doing, someone at Apple, Peter Brown, wrote back to say McCartney was away and wouldn't be back for a couple of weeks. By the time any of this could reach him, Hendrix, Davis and Williams had moved on to other things. The session never happened. So that's 3 of them. Bowie and the 2 Beatles, gone by breakfast. Dylan, the Beatles and the Stones, killed off by 2 flat refusals. Hendrix, Davis and McCartney, undone by a holiday in Scotland. And it's easy to sit here and mourn the albums we never got, but I'm not sure that's the right way to look at it. None of these were real failures. They were just enormous talents drifting close enough to feel each other's pull, and then deciding, once the drink and the late hour wore off, that they were better off keeping their own thing intact. And now and then, one of them did make it through the night. Lennon and Bowie really did ride fame. And years later, George Harrison finally got the supergroup that stuck, the Travelling Wilburys, with Dylan and Roy Orbison and Tom Petty. So maybe the real story here isn't everything we missed. It's that even the biggest bands who ever lived spent their nights dreaming about each other. They just tended to think better of it by morning.